All right. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Happy Sunday to you beautiful people out there. Again, if this is your first time tuning in, my name, as one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current five-time, soon to be six-time published author and educator. Back for another Stay Hired Sunday. Kimberly, how are you?
I am good. Happy Sunday. Glad to be here. I am Kimberly Blue, founder and owner of Art and HR Solutions, where we help businesses be better.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know, especially if you're new to this world, you know that, or you don't. I'll remind you that a lot of what we do is impromptu. A lot of what we do comes out of, literally. I'll text her the Saturday before. She'll ask me if there's anything that came up at my place of business, any topics that I want to discuss. And today we are going to be talking about servant leadership. But what came up just maybe 12 hours ago when I saw the headline on my feed. And for those of you who don't know, I am a huge diehard Michigan fan. So anytime they're in the news for much of anything, I'm always tuned in. I'm always getting like the fans' perspective before I'm getting the actual news report. So apparently they made the decision that actually happened at the University of Florida, I think about a year or so ago, where they decided to do away with DEI. And seeing that I became more of a fan of the school because I wasn't a fan of DEI in general. I wanted to make sure we get Kimberly's raw and uncut, unfiltered opinion about if this is a good thing, it's a bad thing, from an HR perspective, because the excuse that I have kind of I've concluded when it comes to DEI is it's been some leftist stuff that just decides to put people who are not qualified in a job. I think it's the same type of thing that got it to where they changed the Redskins to the Commanders. I'm personally of the belief that, especially when we talk about Michigan, I was at their bowl game this past December. They have a president that's of Asian descent. The alumni director was a black lady. The head coach of the football program is a black man. The projected starter of the football, the quarterback, the projected starter, he's going to be a black guy. So you're not going to get a more diverse campus in terms of what they're all about, what they represent. But I'll read the report and I'll love to just kind of get your thoughts. So it says, effective immediately, after many months of intense discussion and reflection involving multiple stakeholders across and beyond the University of Michigan, the administration is moving forward with important changes to its diversity, equity, and inclusion program. The charge is outlined on March 27, blah, 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 blah. Months ahead, the university will shift resources and increase investments in student-facing programs such as financial aid, mental health resources, stuff they actually need, free professional counseling, and other efforts to strengthen community and promote a sense of belonging and expand accessibility. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but do you have any thoughts initially as I've kind of laid some things out?
So when you go to the conclusion, because I didn't have the opportunity to read it, so
Mm-hmm.
what was their purpose for it? What,
Exactly. I mean, and that's the question I've been trying to figure. Hold on, real quick. Let me make sure. Because all right, good. So it's good on my screen too. So I guess it's just I got to read this up and think. Anyway, so uh, so yeah, I have no idea. So I said this in the video this morning is I knew the way certain people who think like these extreme leftists that want men playing in girls sports that don't they see anything wrong with it. You see people like I said that would change a name like the Redskins to the Commanders. I saw them sticking up for DEI, but in my own head, I never really understood what it meant. Having a name like As One Crookshank, being a black guy, having gone to so many different schools, you're not going to run into a more diverse, equity inclusive person than the one you're speaking to right now. So it was confusing to me seeing that I lived it versus some type of agenda other folks were trying to push on people. And again, before that, though, I didn't have my HR expert to really break us all down and tell us exactly what we're talking about. So give us some good.
so when I think about it, so diversity is that you're hiring people for the job, not just because of their background or their race or their gender.
Right.
You're hiring for the role and they're the best fit for the role.
Mm-hmm.
Equity is about that I get paid as much as you do if we have the same job. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about it, are they doing that already? Did they have an issue with it? There is a place for DNI if a company is, or in this case, a university
Mm-hmm.
is not. holding to those standards. But let's be realistic. A lot of hiring professionals,
Hmm.
if they have a job opening, they already know who they want for it, and
Yes.
they're going to put that person in that job, whether or not they it's diverse or not diverse.
Right.
You know, we came to, and it happens everywhere, and we came to this place where what can we do to shorten that gap to make sure that we're choosing the right person and
Hmm.
we don't have all middle-aged white people there
Right.
or all because it depends on the hiring person,
Yeah.
their influence. And we talked about this a couple of times about unconscious bias,
Hmm.
not getting paid as much. And that still happens today. Men
Yeah.
do get paid more in
Hmm.
some areas, and that's what these programs are for. So, do I
Right.
think there's a place for it? Absolutely.
Right.
But if you're already doing the right thing and you're already looking at that from a holistic standpoint,
Hmm.
then they have a right to get rid of it. They just have to make sure that they're always doing the right thing.
So I'm curious now because, like I mentioned, today's topic we're talking about it's servant leadership, and this was actually something that you had expressed you wanted to pick up on and wanted to chat about before, like a couple of weeks ago, and now we're finally getting around to talking about it. And some of your experience, and I'm someone that's been on the George Mason campus that they don't have a real powerhouse football program like Michigan that's going to attract a lot of business. So I'm curious now when you think about the college age kid, the ones that are trying to do the right thing from the most part, you're not going to meet too many students on a college campus that are trying to live unproductive lives. Sorry, they want to be productive on some level. How do you see that this sort of affects all of this, especially given your experience being with college kids? Maybe some of the things that they talk about, some of the things that they worry about how they're going to find a job, where they're going to find a place, how they're going to be in student loans. How do you see all of this kind of shaping out, and what would you tell them, the younger kids, in terms of how to navigate this? Because it's clearly, I mean, it's turmoil. I didn't play the video of the announcement, but there were some real mixed feelings amongst the students. There were some that were non-heterosexual that were very upset about it, and then there were some people that said, "Look, I love it. I love the fact that now we're actually going to a merit-based system."
I'll tell you, I agree. I like the merit based system.
Hmm.
Okay, but a merit-based system is based on when you're already an employee and
Right.
you get reviews. So a lot of companies, what they do is they give you a bucket of money, or they say everybody gets 2% increase annually.
Hmm.
And how is that fair when you have a high performer, who is just killing in sales or
Yes.
whatever that
Yeah.
is, and
Right.
then you have somebody that's just sitting over here doing the bare minimum to get by.
Hmm.
I don't like that system. It should be merit based.
Hmm.
Merit based gives people incentives to do the work and to work harder.
Right.
As far as trying to find a role
Hmm.
based on this, you have to up your game. If you know that this job takes the certain skill sets, say 5 skill sets, and you're missing one, then get it.
Yes.
You're going to have to try your best, do your best, and learn what you don't know. Because that's why we do this, is to help
Hmm.
people with tools and information that they can be better.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the. I want to kind of read more of the. All right, let's read more of it because this is kind of getting juicy now. All right, I'm gonna just read a little bit from recognizing the progress, and you
Okay.
can react to it to how recognizing the process. The message recognized important progress since the launch of the DEI strategic plan in 2016. All right, this was the Trump's first term in 2016, right? Because there's a lot of people who want to just blame the government for these things, but like you just said, very few people are saying, what the hell do I need to do to get better? What is the actual skill set that I need to do?
Right.
Guess what? Trump and JD Vance or Kamala, none of them got anything to do with that. You got to get better because you know the actual skill set. Now you go develop the
Yeah.
skill set and you still don't get the job. All right, now you can talk. But if you didn't go and develop the skill set, you can't go and blame somebody else. So, all right.
No.
2016, first generation undergraduate students, for examples, have increased. Yeah, this was what they did. All right, I might get a little political on this because they throw out these numbers as if it tells the whole story. But anyway, let me just get through the article. First generation undergraduate students, for example, have increased 46%, and undergraduate Pell recipients have increased by more than 32%, driven in part by the success of programs such as Go Blue, Guarantee, and Wolverine's Pathways. All right, let me stop there because the language in it is incredibly frustrating to me, knowing that the reason I'm such a fan of the school is because of the football program. And when I turn on the game on Saturdays, I'm looking at the best players in the entire country because they're actually good enough. There's no guarantees to get on the field. You know what I'm saying? There's no guarantees. Like when
You
you
know
say
why? Because they work
concept,
towards the skills to be
yes,
the best players. And it's the
very.
same, and no matter what industry you're in.
What does Go Blue Guarantee and Wolverine's Pathways mean? How are you going to guarantee something when it should be merit based? Let's keep going. Let's keep
That sounds like what that sounds like is programs that they have. So every
going.
university has programs,
Right.
so that's a specific program for them. So without knowing that and seeing that, I can't answer that because I don't want to give false
Got it.
information.
Got it. So let's just go to some direct quotes. Over the course of our strategic efforts, we have heard strong pride in the university's support for student facing programs, the message said. We have also heard concerns about the balance of resources between administration and direct support student. Some in our campus community voiced frustration that they did not feel included in DEI initiatives and that the programming fell short in fostering connections among a diverse group. All right, so I can pause it there because I think we kind of got enough of this.
That sounds like an article I need to read before I respond.
Yeah, I'll set it. It's easy to look up because this literally happened after I sent you the topic. It
Right.
literally happened the next, like I was looking through my feed and I realized, oh man, that would have been perfect.
Because it's so
So
different. If you think about it, it's so different than a workplace. We're talking about students don't feel included. I mean, universities have such a robust environment that they can live in. There's so many clubs, there's so many activities. I
mhm,
mean, it's so robust that without me looking to see what theirs is, that's hard
right.
for me to answer. So I'll read
Yeah.
it and we can address it next Sunday.
Yeah, and well, not only that, I'll kind of bring it back to what we normally talk, which it comes to the HR perspective, because when you start, and it's actually going to be perfect as we tie this in. When you start as a business owner and you're responsible for hiring people, and you're getting these outside pressures to remove this merit-based concept to now look, maybe it's an investor, maybe it's a client, maybe it's someone that's responsible for paying you or being financially responsible for the business. It's putting pressure on you to hire nepotism, like a nephew, or to hire someone that looks like this, or to hire someone that has, again, they could be good, could be not good, but again, it's based on something that's not merit based. How do you advise business owners to really stand against that concept of, hey, you're telling me who I need to hire in my business because of some political agenda that you push? How do you advise them to stay firm and say, hey, look, I'm going to do things the way that I feel is best for the business?
It's just, we talked, I think it was last week, we talked about having that framework, having behavioral based interviews, tying the
Yeah, but
roles, creating those behavioral based interviews, and
mm-hmm,
picking the person
mm-hmm,
that's going to do the best job based on this approach. Because if you just choose people because, hey, this is my friend,
mm-hmm,
or, I want to meet a number or a metric, it's never going to work anyway. You choose
right.
the best person. What you will end up with is a diverse workforce if you
Mm-hmm,
just choose whoever's the right fit, for the role. And it's a lot of career mapping with that, and
mm-hmm,
making sure there's that front work to take a role and to put it into behavioral based questions to find the right fit. It takes time, but it's 100% worth it
mm-hmm.
because you're going to come up with a plan that helps your business thrive because you're going to have so many different people, so many different ideas, and I just think that's the best way to go if you're hiring for the fit, not for anything else.
I'm going to give you guys an example, all right, because you guys know me. I'm a Mr. Sportsman. I'm kind of a junkie when it comes to this stuff, and I'm going to talk some Ohio State football a couple years ago. Urban Meyer, the legend, the one who never won a championship, their national championship, and I hate actually having to say this, but never lost to my Michigan Wolverines. Had to suffer a lot of ass kickings back when Urban Meyer was the coach at Ohio State. He ran into some trouble with his one of his assistants. His name was Earl Bruce, and Earl Bruce, as many football aficionados know, that is, I believe, the legendary not Earl Bruce. Yeah, Earl Bruce is the top dog, but his nephew something Bruce is who Urban Meyer hired. Earl Bruce is like the legend. I'm saying Earl Bruce, but he's like the legend, and Urban Meyer hires his nephew, either his nephew or his son, on his staff. And there's this big thing that comes out because apparently he's in strip clubs. Apparently he's doing a bunch of stuff that is going to hurt Urban Meyer's reputation and hurt the program's reputation. And it went all over the news, went viral. He had to deal with it, things like that. When it comes to situations where you're running a major organization like this, and that's kind of, again, I'll bring you in a second, but when you're running an organization that, yes, you're the face, you're the leader, you're the Urban Meyer in the situation, but you have coaching legends like Earl Bruce giving you pressure. Hey, my nephew wants an opportunity in coaching. My nephew wants this. My nephew wants this. And you know in your heart, look, that guy's kind of shady. I don't really know him. I don't really exactly know how you tick. I know who your father is. I know who your uncle is, but I don't know you like that. Everything you're talking about in terms of really creating that rigid framework becomes so much more important. And I want to kind of get your thoughts on how do you gauge what you tell the person's advice? Do you tell the person who's a small business owner something that you would tell differently than something that you would tell a person that's running a major organization and they don't really have it belong to them, but they're the face of it, and anything that goes on, shit, it's their ass on the line.
Should there be a difference between a small business owner and a major company?
Mhm.
No, because you should be able to say no
Thank you. Let
and
me see if I can
move
pull. I
on
can't believe I
if
remember
it
that. Let me
doesn't
see if I can
fit
pull
your
it up.
model. I mean, but let's be realistic. There are times when you have to make decisions that's better for the whole organization, right? And it
Hmm.
might not fit perfectly into the box that you're trying to fit it in. Okay. That's going to happen sometimes. But when you are a small business owner and you don't have stakeholders, like the bigger organizations do, you can say no. That doesn't fit with my business model. But everyone should have the integrity enough to say this doesn't fit. Let's move on.
Yeah.
I can't help you this time. Let's see how different. You have to be a negotiator sometimes because you also don't want to burn bridges.
Hmm. All right, so this is I'm still crazy that I remember this story, but this is as you can see, what 6 years, 7 years ago, this story. But his name was Zach Smith. His name was Zach Smith, and it is like you just said. It's hard to do it when you're in those situations, and I wanna again bring this back to something that we had brought up. Is actually the actual topic today is when you're doing the work, when you're really doing something you believe in, like again, Urban Meyer, born and raised in Ohio, his dream job is to obviously coach that team and win championships and all that. When you're doing work that you really don't feel, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like it's something you're doing from the heart. A lot of these things, I'm never going to say it's going to be easy, but it becomes a lot less challenging because there's a moral code and a moral conscience that you have to say, look, I'll give certain opportunities, but there's certain guidelines that I'm not going to I'm never going to remove those guidelines. I'm never going to buckle to these guidelines and remove these steps. So when it comes to actually, I guess when it comes to picking the work, what advice, what do you tell people that are looking to stay hired? Because we are doing a stay hired Sunday. What do you sort of tell people when it comes to staying hired and they're in situations where they are dealing with unethical people all day, every day, and they still got to figure out ways to keep doing, keep serving, keep being that person that's going to lead, regardless of if you're the one running the company or you're just the one showing up for a check.
So if you're dealing with unethical people and it goes against how you feel all the time. Now I'm going to tell you, I've been in situations where a decision was made. It did not align with mine, but you can have a conversation about it and agree to disagree and move on. Doesn't mean that it's unethical. You just don't agree with it, right? However, if it's
Exactly.
something that is unethical and it goes against your personal beliefs and you deal with that every single day, then you need to leave the company. Because if you can't align and you're never going to align, it's much different than a difference of opinion or a different way to apply policy. That's going to happen, right? That's
Mhm.
normal everyday business. But if it is that much of an unethical company, then that's not the right place because you're really not happy there then.
Exactly. Period. All right, we have gotten to 20 minutes, and so what we do here by the time we get to the 20-minute mark, folks, is I usually have become an expert at ChatGPT. Man, look at me out here. So I usually put a prompt in on ChatGPT to get questions. The prompt today, just so you know, Kimberly, was create 5 questions about servant leadership. Question number one and is what are the key characteristics that distinguish a servant leader from a traditional leader? And I will go first because this one is actually exactly what I'm going to be talking about throughout the entire week when we're talking about recognizing exceptional people and how to see the exception in folks. Traditional leader will simply tell you this, tell you that, and point to some document and say, just follow this document through. A servant leader is actually going to do the work with you. It's actually going to do the work with you, and they will walk you through the entire process. All right. Like actually with their actions, period, point blank. And you guys will be able to tell the difference based on the how the person carries themselves throughout the actual work environment. Are they relatable to you? Are they simply asking questions that make it so you're all right on a personal end? Or is it, did it get done or did it not get done? All right, bye. Go do whatever it is you're going to do.
So a traditional leader is more like a dictatorship. They tell you
Mm-hmm.
what to do. Servant leadership is will work beside you, but they're going to teach you, they're going to elevate you, there's going to be open communication, they're going to
Yes.
mentor you and grow you, push you to be better. And that is, one of the biggest things is that mentoring someone to the next level of where you see them, even if they don't see themselves that way, is such a skill that servant leadership leaders do that is
Mm-hmm.
so valuable that people just that they don't even know, but somebody's always mentored them. A servant
Mm-hmm.
leader wasn't born that way. You have a need inside to help people and to help people be
Right.
better.
Question two: how does servant leadership impact the morale and overall organizational culture? Oof. I can pull out a quite a few examples when it comes to this. So certainly it impacts the morale because it really humanizes them, and that's important. All right. Now this week the king, the goat, King James made a lot of headlines because of an interview that he did with Pat McAfee, and I came on and I spoke about it, and I said being a person that was in middle school when he was in high school, and I've seen him for the past 20 years, he seemed like a person that wasn't human. Like he was doing things that were just not human. And that Pat McAfee interview was as humanized as I've ever seen LeBron James. And it's leading to what I believe personally is what he's trying to set up for his post playing career, where he's going to do a lot of stuff where he's just humanized, he's just talking to young athletes. That's what servant leadership is. And what got revealed in that interview is that that's exactly who he is. He's blessed, again, great athlete, obviously the best athlete that we've ever seen, but he's really just a guy that loves sports and was blessed enough with that ability. And that's kind of what I took away. And that, to me, that speaks exactly when it comes to the servant leadership component.
So for me, it opens, servant leaders open communication. They're transparent.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's decisions that leaders have to make that they can't always share, but they're open with that. They're saying, I can't talk about it right now, but this is what I can tell you. So that open and transparency, it builds trust. And so they're trustworthy and you can believe them and they have integrity. And if they can't tell you, they'll say, I just can't talk about it, as opposed to, I
Right,
don't know. Right.
right.
To me, that's a big indicator of a great leader.
So that leads into the next one. um, in what ways can a servant leader balance serving others with making tough executive decisions? Dun dun dun. Here we go. I just gave the example of Urban Meyer. Zach Smith is messing up his business, his program. It's getting to ESPN. Earl Bruce nephew, love you, man, but you got to get up out of there. You see what the headline was when I looked
Yeah.
it up. You got to get up out of there. I think if you go back and listen to the example I shared with Ohio State and Urban Meyer, what he did with Zach Smith, is exactly that. If you're in the sports world and you remember that time, there was a lot of because people look, they were the champs, they were the top dogs at that point, and whenever that happens, people are going to try to come and find something wrong with you. All right, there's gonna same thing when it comes to Michigan with the sign stealing stuff. Whenever you that top dog and you're killing it, like doing your business, there's going to be something that people are going to dig and dig and dig and dig and find something like, got it, let's blast that. So you got to be really have that armor on to say, yo, look, I know I'm at the top, but because I'm at the top, somebody's coming for my head, and I got to figure out, I got to make sure I'm cleaning house. So I'll let you go on that because I can go on a rant when it comes to that.
You know, there's going to be a lot of tough decisions. And at the end of the day,
Right.
a servant leader is going to be very thoughtful and intentional
Mm-hmm.
about the decisions. They're going to think, how does this impact the
Mm-hmm.
employees? Is this fair? You know, is this how we want to operate as a business?
Mm-hmm.
And they're very intentional and thoughtful in every business decision. You know, sometimes you have to make decisions fast, right? I mean, that's just the
Yeah.
world we live in. But you can still be
That actually
intentional
leads
about
to the
your.
next question.
Okay. You still have to be mindful and thoughtful of how it impacts the whole organization, not
Yeah.
just one person or one
Right.
area.
Right. Yeah, and that's it was crazy that you said because I was reading the next question as you were talking, and there it is again. That's why you're Kimberly Blue. All right, right. So can servant she doesn't know these questions are coming. By the way, guys, this isn't
No.
some planned. This some planned stuff. So can servant leadership be effectively practiced in high pressure, results driven environments? So why or why not? I personally think it can, but I'll let you take it away since obviously you're on one right now. So
Yeah, I mean, you have to in this world, especially how things are changing quickly. You know, every day, every week, there's something new. So you
Mhm,
have to be. But see, that's a mindset. You know, servant leadership is a mindset. So you're able to go things through things quickly. You
mhm,
know, is this in line with our policies? Is this going to be a negative or a positive impact to the organization?
mhm.
You know, so you're
Right.
thinking that rapidly, you know, through the
Yeah.
situation. And, you know, to
Mhm,
see somebody's mind move that fast and all of those areas is incredible.
mhm.
But yes, it can be done.
Yes, and this is something that I've actually going to be changing this as we're heading into a new month. You guys will not see as many guest interviews throughout the week because I'm doing exactly what is I'm practicing exactly what's on the screen. Where again, I have to have a system that's going to be very efficient, be able to move into it, and when I'm pressure again, new relationship now, I got responsibilities and stuff like that to where I got to make a decision, and I'm able to, in one fall swoop, put out a ton of content just like that, right? So
You're being
articles, a live,
intentional.
exactly, article, live stream, and a medium, and an article, live stream, and a podcast episode all coming out in one swing, and then boom, you know the thing going out throughout the week. Now, I'm not going to stop doing guest interviews. No, I'm not going to stop. They're going to be here and there, but they're not going to be five brand new guests every week as it was for the previous 6 or 7 months. Now you're going to start to see very more intentional because when I do get faced with that high pressure situation, it's like I was one. We want you to do the play by play for this college football program. Our contract is not as lucrative as you may want, but it's an opportunity. Again, I'm already ready. It's already set up.
Right.
You see the effect you're having on me, man. This is
I love
actually
it.
yeah. This is awesome. All right, final question. Final question. Final question. How can emerging and there I just answered it. There we go. All right. How can emerging leaders begin to develop a servant leadership mindset in their current role? Well, there I just gave you a living life proof example of one, and I will let Kimberly get the last word. You could just look at your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. You guys have been man, you've been doing this a while now. I cannot believe we started these live streams this summer, and now we about to hit May and just kicking, man. It's been a
Yep.
lot of stuff. Anyway, keep going because
Yes.
I'm gonna start talking too much.
So just, you know, just what we spoke about is that how
Yeah,
you start it is you have to define yourself and
yeah,
what you stand for. Once you do that, everything else comes. Because
hmm
anything that doesn't align with that is a no. You know, and you'll learn every day, every week. You're going to learn what is meant for you and what is not meant for you once you decide who you are and what that means to you. You know, and that sometimes comes in a form of a new relationship, like with you. You're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm here and I'm here and here. I need to be more intentional. Any type of decision that you make, that's what you have to do. Does this define who I am and the brand that I want to put out? So
Exactly. And I will
I'm
tell
proud of you.
you
You're doing a
as
great job.
men, yeah, and well, that's what I was, thank you for saying that. But I do want to close out with the understanding that as men, it's important that you leave your ego and all your bullshit away because one of the things I did say to her is that a man is as successful as they may seem on the outside. We truly, truly don't know exactly how and the way we're going to do it until we meet the right one. And that takes you doing the work on the back end.
Yes.
You can't look for the female to do the work for you. You have to have done the work first, shown up, having done the work, and then things
Yep.
start to move in a efficient manner. So
Yep.
that's what has to happen. Too many of you guys do it the opposite way, where you feel like the person's just supposed to do the work for you, and all of a sudden your problems are going to go away. Absolutely not. I will close you out with one of my favorite books, Carol Dweck, Mindset. She was talking about couples, and she said, "Stop this whole happily ever after bullshit. It's they worked ever after, or something like that. They didn't live. No,
So
that was it.
true.
She said they didn't live. They didn't live happily ever after. They worked happily ever after. So that's what we'll drop the mic on today. Carol Dweck, mindset, growth versus a fixed mindset. You guys go read all about it. So,
I can't top that one
so
today.
again,
We're gonna do a mic drop on that
yeah,
one.
no, we're dropping the
That's
mic.
it.
Listen, the mic is absolutely dropping. Carol Dweck, you did that. All right. As usual, main website to check out the dive deeper into everything. Makeyamove.com. That's MakeYamope.com. And I'll let you plug your stuff and we can go from there.
Yep.
Just take
Art at
this down real quick.
hrsolutions.com. I'm Kimberly. State Hard Sunday. See you next time.
Next week, folks. First one in April. So let's get it going later.